Big news coming from the Philadelphia 76ers that they make a trade with the Dallas Mavericks. We're going to break it down right here.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
First big trade before the deadline for the Philadelphia 76ers. Dallas is sending Quentin Grimes and Philadelphia's 2025 second-round pick back to the 76ers for Kayla. Martin, Keith, how you feeling about this news breaking coming out, and how does it look for the Philadelphia 76ers going forward?
I think that is, right now you look at it, it's a move that the 76ers made. First thing, they basically saved $4 million in salary cap space, right? That's the one thing, because Quentin Grimes is only making 4. Caleb Martin was making 8. The second thing that really stands out to me is the second round pick. So the 76ers are going to be able to get this second round pick, right? So they didn't have a second round pick in this upcoming draft. And then also the way we look at it, their first round pick is top 6 protected. So with that being said, we at least know they have a draft pick. The third thing is they have better shooting, right? Quentin Grimes is shooting 39% from the field from 3 this season, which is a career high, I believe, for him. But he's a bona fide shooter who's going to create spacing for the 76ers. It wasn't a blockbusting deal, right? Let's be honest with you. It wasn't a blockbuster. But what it is right now you have a guy who you can come in and provide depth in the rotation. And Caleb Martin, I like him a lot, but Caleb Martin missed 12 games in a row and 17 overall in the season. So you have a body that's available where you're saving money, you're bringing in shooting, and you got a guy who could go play as soon as possible.
As you alluded to, he's shooting just below 40% from 3, which is big for the 76ers and something they need, especially when Joel Embiid comes back with the double teams, things like that. He's a 3-and-D, kind of your prototypical 3-and-D guy. What I also like is he's only 24 years old. So you lose Darren McCain due to injury. You're trying to bring back somebody else that's a little bit younger, that's a little bit more youthful. Kayla Martin has been out for the Philadelphia 76ers. The one thing that I think that I only struggle with this trade on the Sixers side is now what do you look at in terms of your small lineup getting even smaller? Because Kayla Martin also had the ability to kind of play that small ball powered forward. And we know the 76ers are a smaller lineup when they don't have guys like Drummond and Joel Embiid in there. Now you kind of eliminate that, bringing in Grimes as well. But that might mean for the 76ers that they make a little bit more of a push to keep Gershon Yabusele because of that. Have him go out to the 4 a little bit, be able to play that position, really keep Grimes where he succeeds and has been successful all season long out there on the wing as that 3-and-D guy. So I think for the 76ers, this trade does make sense. Is there any worry for you, Keith, him being a little bit smaller than Kayla Martin, because this is really already a small lineup? Is there any worry on your side for that, or you think that this was the right move for the Philadelphia 76ers?
No, there's no worry because they play different positions. You look at it, Grimes is a 2 guard. Martin is is a Swiss Army knife. You know what I mean? He goes in there, he could play the 2. One game he was running the point, but for the most part, he plays the 2, the 3, the 4. And you look at this roster, the thing is, I feel like the way Yabusele has been playing, even if Martin was healthy, Yabusele would be the starting power forward, right? It just seems like he gives them the best opportunity. That enables Paul George to do different things. And then you have KJ Martin possibly coming back. We look at it, Dembona. One guy we're not talking about, Justin Edwards. He's been playing extremely well. So I feel like when we're looking at it, I don't see Quentin Grimes coming in to duplicate what Caleb Martin did, but what I see him just coming in as a guy who they can use to stretch the floor and do certain things for him. And here's something else, though. We got to understand this. When we talk about moves we're talking about cost cutting, right? So they gave Caleb Martin, $35 million over 4 years, right? Well, now you got a guy who's in the last year of his deal, and he's a restricted free agent. So basically, he's getting to try out with the Sixers, and then they can decide what they want to do moving forward. So even though he's a young guy, this is basically it's helping the Sixers out with cap space moving forward, and then so you can have room to get somebody else in here.
In addition to their youth also has really developed even throughout this early season due to the lack of consistency of players being able to play due to injuries as well. So you bring up a guy like Justin Edwards as well, Ricky Council, also within that, of course, Tyrese Maxey. You're getting players that can run up and down the floor that are healthy coming in. And I mean, shooting just below 40% from three is going to be a really big deal when he comes to the Philadelphia 76ers. So they get him from the Dallas Mavericks, which makes it even more interesting as they play the Mavs tonight here at 7 p.m. So kind of just trading guys back and forth. The 76ers, I don't think they're done yet. Keith, overall, what do you give this grade for the Philadelphia 76ers? What do you grade this trade right now as we are going to send things off in just a bit? What are you grading this for Philadelphia?
You know what? I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe I'll give them like a B, I guess. I don't really know because my thing is, it's hard to say now from a financial standpoint. They were $11 million over the luxury tax, right? Like in the luxury tax. So basically, they shed some salary. B, they identified a shooter, but the tough part is Caleb Martin really didn't play a lot because of injuries. In the one game that he did play, he was the Boston Strangler, right? So you're basically losing a guy in the playoffs if you go up against Boston, a guy that they fear. Now maybe Quentin Grimes can do that, but again, I think that this is going to be one of those trades that we'll have to see how he adapts and how he plays over time. But the one thing is, you do have a healthy body, a guy that can go out and play right now. It helps us. So I'll give him a B, right? But at the same time, I think it's more or less incomplete. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
because I don't know how it's going to pan out.
Incomplete because we don't know how it's going to pan out. I'm also curious, there's still 2 days left before the official trade deadline in the NBA on February 6th. So what other moves will the Philadelphia 76ers make around this? Because I really don't think that they're done yet. I'm going to go a B minus here. I think I'm in agreement with you to see how it plays out. I do like that he's young. I like the youth. I like the 3-and-D. I think that's something that the 76ers really always need with the lineup of Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid is able to come back and be healthy. You need a spot up shooter, and he is absolutely that guy as well. Once again, shooting about 39% from beyond the arc when he was with the Dallas Mavericks. And also, of course, that cap, as you mentioned as well, Kayla Martin now going to the Mavericks. So I'm going to go a B minus. It's going to be interesting to see, too, what they do with Gershon Yabusele. I think now that you do have to keep him, you bring him to that 4, KJ Martin trying to come back and be healthy as well. Of course, Grimes is not a complete just trade swap of Kayla Martin. They're very different players. He can't play that small ball power forward that Kayla Martin was able to. So that's the only worry of concern a little bit for me when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers going forward. But overall, I do like the trade. Kayla Martin was not somebody I wanted the 76ers to get rid of just because of what he can do in the postseason. But I do think Grimes is a good piece. And then, of course, that pick back as well definitely is big for the Philadelphia 76ers. Any lasting thoughts, Keith, before we send things off here as Philadelphia 76ers going up against the Mavs tonight? It's going to be a big one as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. I mean, I guess the only lasting thought is now you want to figure out who else is going to be, who else is going to go. Like, is a guy like Reggie Jackson, is he going to go? What about Eric Gordon? I mean, you would think, to me personally, two guys that you can't trade on these role players are you can't trade Eric Gordon, in my opinion, and you can't trade Yabu. But that I wonder, what does that mean for guys like Reggie? What does that mean for guys like KJ Martin?
It's going to be interesting once again to see what they do in the next 2 days. And for everybody tuning in, the important details of this trade as well. One more time, we talked about it at the top of the show, but the Philadelphia 76ers do trade Kayla Martin to the Dallas Mavericks. They get Quentin Grimes and their 2025 second round pick back as well. So interesting spot there for the Philadelphia 76ers. Keith gives it a B. I give it a B minus. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. We'll see you guys after the game against the Dallas Mavericks. Once again, that is at home at 7 p.m. See how that plays out for the Philadelphia 76ers. And if any more trades do loom, we will have it right here on Locked On 76ers. We'll see you guys later on.